how did the concept for it really come about?
Well, the simple practical answer, for me, it's often like the deeper feelings kind of sneak in by the back door or a side door at least, and I have to just start something very practical. And so for this, it's a pretty low budget indie movie. And I actually 10 years ago bought this little cabin. It's actually a mobile home in the woods, in the redwoods, that I fix up with friends. And then I'm there sometimes and I rent it out sometimes, and through Airbnb. And so I'm always afraid I'm not that organized of somehow double booking it. And so that just seemed like kind of an easy kind of classic genre beginning that then we could take into unexpected directions.
So then how did you come up with the intricacies of this mystery? Because I love the way that it plays out non-chronologically, where you're getting little tidbits and then the present and, so on and so forth. How did you sort of come up with that?
Right. That was, it's really just trying to layer it on one step ahead, one step ahead, one step ahead, as opposed to, me and my co-writer, Matt Derby, we didn't know, we had like a vague sense of the ending we were trying to feel towards and the issues and questions and emotions we were going towards. But we also just tried to be like, what was a thing that could happen next, and to really let it take its own path. And so that really helped us, I think, come up with an unexpected shift. And so I don't even know the moment. It was just like, it got to a point in the story when I thought like, well, what did happen? And I sort of felt like, well, the viewer might also be wondering what happened. And also, I guess what I always like to do is, the other thing we were trying to do with this is play with what kind of movie am I even watching? What genre is this movie? Because it's a little boring sometimes, right? When you basically, a lot of good movies are like this, but you basically know the path and you don't know the very end, but you kind of could chart out the next hour and you're just seeing how they execute it or how fun it is or whatever. I want something where you couldn't quite do that. And so, by playing with time, it really lets you shift with all your assumptions and really undermine your expectations and play with that.
So what would you then say, even though you are familiar with the mystery genre of the past, what with Homecoming, what would you say were some of the biggest creative challenges, really, putting all of that together?
Definitely the end. I think when it all kind of comes to a head and it does get a little, well, I don't want to say too much, but it's, I feel, I think Matt and I, we feel more comfortable with like little clues and bits of mystery and intrigue. And when things have to kind of bust out, go a little bit wild, that's where we're like, are we really doing this? Okay, I guess we're really doing this. So that's where, for me, just my strengths and weaknesses as a writer, that's where it got trickier.
Gotcha. Okay. And so this is your feature film debut in the director's chair, as well as writing. What about this project really spoke to you to, finally make that leap to feature length?
It was really, the first thing was like, am I capable of this? It was just trying to figure out how to do it, because I came to this, relatively late in life. I was editing and designing books for about 10 years and then writing them and doing weird digital projects for 10 years. And kind of stumbled into this world through Homecoming, this podcast that I co-created, became a TV show. So the whole thing was such a kind of thrown into the deep end learning experience. So it was, it was more just like, can I do this? Am I up to this? Do I like this? Am I any good at this? So I don't know if that really answers your question, but that was a big part of the experience for me.
No, that's a perfect answer. I like it. So with that said, then I think one of the greatest things, especially about this film, is just its look, its visual presentation. So what was it like for you really trying to determine that look? Did you have any specific inspirations you pulled from, or was it just sort of all in your mind when you were writing it?
Well, David Bolin, my DP, was amazing. And definitely I could have never made this without that. He was the co-director in a lot of ways. And, we really, the same way we were talking about with the writing, for the look and feel of it, we wanted to play with what kind of thing is this? In some ways it feels more like indie drama, and sometimes it gets a little pulpier. And even like within scenes, we tried to have it shift with like the color balance and things like that. So we kind of like you're being pulled into a more genre specific movie and then you get yanked back and again. And we try to have the look and feel of that really affected. We also, it's almost entirely handheld. which we thought could kind of really keep it grounded in the characters, which is what we wanted to do very much so, and also just lets us film a lot and move quickly because of course we had limited time.
So speaking of characters, the cast in this film are all incredible. I mean, I've enjoyed their work even prior to this, but I thought they were all the right fits for their roles. But how did you go about finding your cast for this film?
I mean, it was it all started with Winona, of course. That was the craziest fluke. I mean, I wrote her a note basically, and then, but I never met her or anything like that. And then 4 days later, it was like 11 at night, and I was in bed, and I got this text from an unknown number, and it was just, "My dude, it's Winona. Let's do it. I love the script." It just was that easy. Of course, then it was like a year of all sorts of stuff till we actually got to make it. But so once she was in, then it was easy enough to start accumulating people around her. And I was so excited with the people we got. I mean, Dermot Mulroney, of course, is a legend himself. And I worked with him on Homecoming, actually, the TV show. And then John Gallagher Jr., such an amazing actor. And then these two, I think of them as kids because I'm old, but Brianne Chu and Owen Teague, they're both 21 or 22, but just so professional and so game and did such a great job. So, we really wanted to, in the script and in the casting, have this kind of very evenly split age range. We have them in their 20s, John in their 30s, Winona in her 40s, Dermot in his 50s, because that relates a lot to the plot. And so we wanted to, without even having to discuss it in the script itself, have just the casting itself bring that out.
Well, I think it comes across very well with that, now that you mentioned that. And yeah, Brianne and Owen, they're killer. So it's great to see them keep rising. And so with that said, with their work in the script, were they allotted the opportunity to play with the characters and dialogue a little bit in scene to scene, or was it mostly all on the script?
It was mostly, it was mostly on the script, except sometimes with them, especially with Owen and Brianne, we would kind of let it run because without going into too much detail, they have agendas that aren't always coming through from the beginning, and so by just letting it roll a little bit after the scripted scene, we would get little moments where they knew what was doing, they were up to, their characters were up to, even if the script wasn't yet revealing that, and we got a lot of great material from that. Also, they just did a lot of work individually and with each other to kind of develop a backstory for their characters and weird secrets that they only had that kind of, I think, added to the texture of the roles.
All righty. Well, I think that's awesome. That's exactly what we want from a performer. So that's great. Now, before I go, we have mentioned Homecoming a few times, and I'm curious, it's been a little while since season 2 came out. We haven't really heard any word about a future. Is there a future in your mind for this show?
I mean, I guess the future is a long time. So, anything could happen. Until someone says no, there's always a yes, right?
There you go.
Your cues. If enough people put in their cues. I don't know, man. It's a mystery to me too.
Well, I will certainly keep my eyes peeled for that, and I look forward to spreading the word about this one. You really did a great job with it, and I think people are going to love it.